Good afternoon and welcome back to The Stump, a place where our friends and colleagues come to talk about business topics and share their insights. My name is Rick Barton. I'm the President and CEO of Barton Performance Group, and today I'm joined by Allen Jarboe, who's the Chief Strategy and Financial Officer for CalCo Cutaways. Welcome, Allen.
Thanks, Rick.
So today we're going to be talking about reward and recognition. And the way we'd like to go ahead and talk about it is kind of like, what is it in your experience? And I'll talk about some of mine. What are some of the causes of failure for reward and recognition systems or processes in organizations? And finally, what are some recommendations we can think of that would help some organizations or people better administer or apply reward and recognition? So how's that sound?
Perfect.
Excellent.
So I think from my practical perspective here, recognition plans or programs are more thought of like bonus plans, commissions, employee benefit programs, could be employee of the month, or just having, getting back to culture again, having an employee and company culture in place that rewards employees for their individual and teamwork contributions, right? That benefit the organization, and then does that allow them to develop into different roles throughout the organization?
Absolutely, I'd agree with that. I think that I'm going to go a little bit higher level. I'm thinking that reward and recognition is really about fostering cultures of performance. And that performance really is based on either results or behaviors that contribute to the overall strategy or performance of the business. So how do they create the DNA that's needed by the human capital, by people that can help execute business strategies and goals?
You know, it's I think it gets back to company culture, and we discussed this last week when we were talking about accountability. But company culture is really important for, I think, everything that leads to a company's success or failure, right? And fostering those contributions from the employees, right? So it's not just having financial reward programs in place, but a culture that helps to foster really growth through an employee's career.
Absolutely. And the more creative they are, the more meaningful it is to the employee, the better the reward is seen by the employee and the organization. So how do they align the employee's values, organizational values, and recognize and incent and reward the behavior needed?
Right. So I think setting these up creatively is important. They also need to be simple, right? Simple to administer, simple to understand, and they can be broken down into right, like task level, strategy level, right? And how does that really contribute to the company's ultimate goal, right? Which is growing revenue and profits in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. So what are some examples or ways that organizations or people fail on the side of reward and recognition?
I think a failure can come from a number of sources. Again, not to be redundant here, but you know, the wrong culture or a lack of culture that doesn't foster that clearly is what starts it. Programs, if they're financially right, they're designed to benefit financially the individuals, are not properly funded. They're too hard to understand. And then it kind of ties into employee accountability as well, right? Are they, if they're not well defined, the employees aren't accountable for their individual and group actions, then it doesn't really sort of match the overall recognition plan.
Absolutely. I've seen in organizations where when people think about reward recognition, you're right, they get back to the finances. How much money do I get? And we know that that's just a factor that you can never quench. You can never be able to satisfy that thirst about, I got enough money. So once that money's gone, then the other hand's back out. what else can I get? Versus how do you get that person to be self-driven, to be recognized for their behavior, their performance, or the results in a way that they would want to get into that want to effect versus have to.
That's the hard part. I wish I had a good answer for how to do that. A lot of it has to do with the top-down management style, and again the overall sort of the mix of employees, right? Maybe in some cases, a few of the wrong employees really can alter the entire culture of an organization. But it really, like you said, you can design these financially motivating programs, but you never quench the thirst, right? Everyone wants more. So what is the psychology of everyone that they're looking for in an organization? Is it, just their manager recognizing that they've done a good job? Thanks for your effort. Is it their teammates or their coworkers recognizing that? Do they want job flexibility? If they have children at home, especially during a pandemic, right? Flexibility is important. So there's a lot of factors outside of money, and I think it's important to understand, especially in an organization where you've got a lot of different people and personalities. What is it everyone wants? What makes them happy? What will help make them productive? And then recognize that and build on that. There's no easy answer to that. I'd like to know what you have to think about that.
Yeah, you said a couple things I thought were very interesting. One thing you said, the downfall was that if they're overly complex, and I 100% agree. If the reward recognition system is so complex that leaders and employees are having a difficult time navigating or applying it, they just won't. And if everyone gets the same thing, then you're not really differentiating performance, whether it's for continuous improvement or a behavior that's needed. So how do you use the recognition system or the reward system to really delineate levels of performance?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common, again, to start right with incentive programs, right, for individuals and departments, right? So operations and I'll say the manufacturing floor has a different financial incentive than the sales department, right? So in sales, I think of commissions. Operations, I think of efficiency, productivity, and all of that, ultimately contributes to the top line company performance. And then there can be things like matching contributions or profit sharing programs at the end of a year. It's all of these individual contributions lead to hitting top line corporate goals.
Absolutely. And keeping that line of sight for the employee or the managers or hired to be able to say, how are we achieving our strategic mission or direction or goals? How are we putting that in touch with our people so they can see that what they're doing is moving the ball, that's driving the organization, that they're not wasting effort or they're not working on things that are not the highest priority. So how do we guide them by creating that line of sight to the goal, to the employee's individual work?
Right. It really gets down to well-defined metrics and key performance indicators, right? And they have to be measured in, I'll say relatively short intervals, depending on what those are. They could be weekly. I would say no less than monthly. And then those lead into quarterly KPIs and then annually, right? Because if it's not well measured and reported to everyone, then no one really knows if their contributions are really making a difference.
Absolutely. One thing I like to kind of point out is that when I think about reward and recognition, most of the time people are thinking about top down. And a highly effective or evolved system for an organization is one where it's multi-directional. So how many times is a leader being recognized by their employees or the peer recognition that's going out? And is the leader, are they modeling giving recognition and reward to their people that inspires others, whether peer or their boss, is actually rewarding and recognizing them for behaviors and results.
Again, that's a real challenge. I think I find managing, let's say, at a department level, it can be a little like raising several children sometimes, right? You want to they're all your staff, right? You want to treat them equally, even though they're different. And if any one of those peers feels like maybe there's a favorite, someone else is getting better or higher recognition than the other, it fosters a sense of resentment. Competitiveness, can be okay, but if it starts to foster resentment, undermining, right, those have no benefit in an organization. So it's really hard, I find, and I'd like to know your opinion on this, how to create that sort of nurturing environment amongst people when it's human nature, again, to want to compete and outdo one another.
From my perspective and experience, it's really about what are the goals of the department and how are each of those people, based on their role or their skill sets, how are they performing? Are they doing more of the same thing, or are they raising the bar? Are you waiting for everyone to hit a particular target, or are you calling out key behaviors? Maybe where people worked outside their comfort zone, they took risks. And for me, it's always where I've seen it work well is when the organization's clearly defined, here are the values of the organization, and you tie the values of the organization to the behavior of the individual. So it's alignment to say, this is sound judgment, or this is compassion, or this is X. You fill in the blank based on the organizational values. And then you call that out as that's an example. There was a really great book that was written that's called The Uncommon Leader. And it's where a person really was trying to generate an employee recognition system through contributions of employees of, it's like a gain sharing process, but it was right around the idea of continuous improvement, like suggestion programs and things. And it got people involved in deciding, well, this company took it to the next level. Not only did they follow the rules of the Uncommon Leader, but they created their own award system, and they had the Academy Awards, they were called, and they actually brought in limousines, and they took their top performers and brought them in for a night and showered them with gifts and recognition and thanks, and brought their spouse or their significant other in, and told stories about how they contributed to the success of the organization. So that's kind of something I thought about.
That's a great idea. I'd like for you to repeat the name of that book for myself and everyone listening.
And it was called The Uncommon Leader. And the author, I apologize, escapes me right now. I know he lives down in Arizona. And in his book, he has his contact information. And, I've talked to him one time. His name escapes me. But great person to talk to, and it's a great system. So let's go ahead and let's transition to our last area. And let's talk about where we've seen it done well. What are some unique tips, tricks, or tools that you've seen that reinforce a strong recognition reward system?
Again, I think in general, where you've got department managers sort of all working collectively to develop a recognition program that's appropriate for their department. And those are all feeding into key performance indicators, right? Where you're posting maybe weekly sales compared to budget or compared to prior year. Any other metrics, right? Like quotes processed, any activity goals, and those are all leading up to your monthly key performance indicators, or KPIs, what I like to call them. But it has to be done sort of in coordination with all the departments, right? And I think that comes from the executive leadership team down. Otherwise, you can have one department that does it really well and the others don't. And I think you're just missing out on a lot of opportunity to benefit the entire organization.
Absolutely. And I've seen in some organizations where the department actually created their own reward recognition system because the organization as a whole did not have a centralized system. And there was a lot of hard feelings between departments, like, well, why are they getting this? Why are they doing that? We've achieved better results than that, but since their leader has a recognition or reward program, they're actually getting something. And it creates a we versus they type culture.
Right, and that can create a lot of divisiveness in an organization when that happens.
Absolutely. And some of the simplest things I've seen done are sending a personal thank you note to the individual, send it to their home. The Studer Group, which is a healthcare coaching organization, has identified that as one of the top 3 best business practices is sending thank you notes. Just a handwritten note, a person taking time out to say, I recognize this behavior or these results, and here's the impact that it had. I want to thank you for your contributions and look forward to seeing more successes. So the thank you note was really a powerful one for me.
That's a great idea, especially in the world of emails and sending text messages. I think a lot of people even forget there is such a thing as a mail system, and
Yeah.
being able to write out a card and drop it in the mail.
In my work with the federal government, especially or particularly the Department of Navy, one of the reward recognition tools they have is called a 59er. And that's where supervisors can give 59 minutes back to their employee and just say, whatever you want to do for 59 minutes. You can take it off on a Friday afternoon, 1 hour early, or you can work on a special project, wherever you like to do that. 59 minutes is for you. So rather than get something that they're going to put on the wall or on their desk, they actually get an hour back with their family. And how much is that worth? Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, right? Because time is the most valuable resource in today's world. I think it always has been. It's something we can't get back. We can always make more money. There's generally all resources we can reacquire, but time is invaluable.
Absolutely. One of the key practices that I've had with departments that I've led in the past was that every meeting I had, I began with the topic of recognition as the first agenda item to allow everyone around the table, and I actually rotated who would lead the meeting. So it wasn't my meeting, it became our meeting. And then each person would take that moment, first agenda item, and say recognition. Who are the people on our team that we need to recognize for their behaviors or results that are contributing to our success? Which was really powerful because as a leader, I couldn't be seeing everything. I couldn't be every place. I couldn't see everyone doing things. So that gave them an opportunity to recognize people in the team. And the second half of that was who are the people outside our department that we need to recognize? It may be a vendor, it may be another department leader or another employee of a different part of the organization. But putting the control back to the employees to say, when it comes to recognition, you own it. And it's not the leader's responsibility just to, well, congratulations, you're it. But this is a multi-directional recognition process. And so this is your opportunity to step up and let people know what you value, and what you value, we value.
That's a great point. You made one point that I want to reinforce here. It's not just employees that contribute to an organization's success. It's outside stakeholders, vendors, customers, right? So recognizing their contributions as well, I think, is really important.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're at our time today. I really appreciate you coming on. So thank you. That's my recognition to you. Thank you, Allen, for joining me today and talking about an important topic of reward and recognition. Any closing thoughts?
Thanks again for having me, Rick. I really enjoy doing these weekly sessions with you, and I hope everyone else is getting some value out of this as well.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming, and we'll look forward to our next topic next Friday. Have a great weekend.
Goodbye, everyone.